Welcome to the Peakday podcast, where we talk about fertility and natural family planning with our friends. Today's guests are Jim and Dawn Zarnick. They have spent more than 25 years living and sharing the beauty of natural family planning as a way of life, rooted in faith, trust, and daily commitment. What began with a simple desire to avoid the side effects of contraception grew into a deeper understanding of God's design for marriage, communication, and love. Along the way, they've navigated real challenges, learning abstinence, growing in their understanding of sexuality, and raising a family with intentionality and creativity. Today, they serve as a CCL teaching couple, guiding others through NFP in both in-person and online settings, while also leading in marriage preparation and parish ministry. Their story is one of growth, humility, and joy, and a powerful witness to how living in alignment with God's plan can transform a marriage from the inside out. Thank you, Jim and Dawn, for being my guest on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So maybe you can take us back to the beginning, Jim and Dawn. Tell us how you guys met and what were your first impressions of each other?
Yeah, so we met when we were in college. I had a roommate who was one of my best friends, and I had a friend who was actually my prom date, and she came to visit one weekend. And during the course of that weekend, I could see my roommates and my friend visiting, like they were whispering in the corner, and I don't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden, after they had left, my roommate told me, "Hey, we just set you up on a blind date." And like, well, that's a bad idea. I mean, blind dates are never going to work. I don't know a thing about this girl, whatever. So, but eventually decided to go on the date, and pretty glad that I did. So I met Dawn, and first impression was, wow, this girl's out of my league. She's beautiful, she's smart, she's funny. Um, and she plays viola, like she's studying viola performance at Butler University. I don't know a thing about classical music. Like, I don't know how this is going to work out at all, but let's give it a shot.
Yeah. And it was about an hour apart. He was at Rose Holman, studying engineering, about an hour away. So we started long distance, but thankfully his roommate had a car and my friend had a car. So we were able to get back and forth for a while until I got a car down the line. So it started out with a blind date.
Yep.
Okay. So you had, how long did it take before you decided to get married? And what were maybe your expectations for marriage?
So we dated it was a little over 4 years, and then we got engaged, and then we got married after that. So it was about a 5-year period of dating. And I mean, I guess having, of course, the secular influences throughout our life, at least me, I was like, oh, once we get married, it'll be like, oh, we can just enjoy each other all the time, have sex whenever we want. But then, learned more about what the Catholic Church teaches about those kinds of things. And so, there was that expectation as a young, kind of ignorant person. And then learning that there is a different way. And then I guess another expectation I had was just that we were going to mesh perfectly with our just general habits and everything. And unfortunately, I'm not very clean, a little messy. Jim is very clean. So that was one little hurdle we probably had to get over. He had to kind of accept me a little bit more than he probably wanted to. So,
right. Well, let's talk maybe about your faith journeys. Can you share a bit about your faith, maybe growing up, and how that shaped your openness to natural family planning, maybe?
I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
So I was born with two pretty faithful parents. My dad was a cradle Catholic, and so I was a cradle Catholic. My mom was non-denominational, but they both prioritized faith in my life, and so I grew up with it and took it very seriously and continued to practice all throughout high school and college. And so I had a pretty solid platform going into marriage.
Well, and you went the Catholic route, like you were raised Catholic.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes.
And I was raised Catholic, but didn't really get taken to church much. I got my sacraments, went through CCD, but my mom was the Catholic one. My dad was, I don't even know what he was, maybe agnostic. Honestly, we never really talked much about what he was, but my mom didn't really take us to church. Um, so I would go here and there. And then I started becoming, after some really great CCD teachers in eighth grade, I started going with a friend more through high school and kind of got more solid in my faith. And then I kind of petered out during college. But then once I met Jim, we were juniors in college and he kind of brought me back in. So,
yeah. Right. So it was after your marriage, then you guys started taking your faith maybe a little bit more seriously. Was there like something that sparked that shift, or was it just that actual act of getting married?
well, I think Jim was always solid. So it was me kind of jumping back in. So, no, so he has always been very, very steady with his faith and his practicing of the faith. And then I was just sporadically going while I was in college. So then I started going regularly once we started getting more serious. I didn't at the beginning even. I would argue with him, like, I don't want to go to church. And then eventually I started going back and building my own personal faith and getting very involved at church after a while. And it's been that's been that way ever since. So it's been a blessing.
All right. When you were doing your marriage prep, were you introduced to natural family planning at that point?
It was before that,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah. Yeah, we were going to a church down in Indianapolis where we lived when we first were married, and we heard there was a well actually I think it was before we were married when we got our own apartments and engaged. Someone did like a talk saying they were going to do a brief introduction about natural family planning, so just kind of like just some information about it. And then we're like, this is probably something that we want to look into, because like I was on birth control for acne and cramps like when I was younger. I just didn't like how it made me feel, and then I heard about side effects, so I was like, I'd really rather not stay on that. And then of course I'm like, well, we want to do things the Catholic way, the right, the way we feel is right. So we're like, let's go check it out. So then we did, and then we started taking the classes before we were married so that we were pretty much ready to go by the time we were married. But this was way back when it was that really big book and a lot of rules. Lots of rules. So that was a bit of a challenge, I would say. I mean, Jim probably could speak more to that because he did the interpretation side, but
it was the same impression. It was just like, this is a lot. So we're two college educated young adults, and it's like, wow, this is challenging. And so we worked our way through it, and the more we did it, the better we got at it. But it was not as simple as it is today. And so it's a real blessing the way that CCL has simplified the method.
For sure.
Lots of benefits there.
Yes.
Are you teaching the Peakday app, or do you utilize that with your students in your classes at this point?
Well, we don't really use it with them, but we introduce it. We tell them about it. Of course, it's part of the presentation slides. So Jim will usually give some sort of kind of recounting of how he uses it and how helpful it can be. But we always make sure people know it's a tool. It's not always foolproof. So you still have to know the method in order to really make sure that you are on top of it.
We've spanned the history of the technology at this point, because we were paper charting like when we started, and then we transitioned to the software that we got on a CD, right? That we had in our desktop, and that was a big step up, and then transitioned to the Peakday app and
Cycle Pro Go, I think.
Yes, and the multiple versions of that. And so we've lived through that, and again, just making practicing the method so much easier.
So, Jim, you share pretty honestly with your students about your early struggles, maybe with abstinence. What helped transform your understanding of your sexuality?
Yeah, so like I said, I had very faithful parents, but just didn't get much in the way of catechesis regarding sexuality, and I think that's probably the case for most. And
Yeah.
and so I had that deficiency, that gap, right? And
Right.
so it was kind of left to cultural influences to fill that gap, right?
Right. Right.
And sex is all about me and my pleasure, and
Mm,
if it feels good, do it, right? And
mhm.
so that was balanced somewhat by my faith, where I'm reading the Bible, and clearly you're not supposed to be having sex before marriage or lusting or any of these things, but I couldn't put both together, right? I couldn't
Mm,
reconcile the two.
right.
So I struggled with that for a number of years, and up to and including our early marriage years,
Mhm.
which impacted our marriage. So I finally came across some resources from Jason Everett. Used to be Catholic Answers. Now it's Chastity Project.
Yeah.
Go, Jason.
Yeah.
It's just
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
really transformed my thinking on sexuality, and finally getting an understanding of the way that God um, in, um, always intended marriage to be, right? And so it's not, it's not different than what the church was teaching. It was just an explanation of the logic
Mhm.
behind it, which
Mhm.
really I needed. And once that clicked in my mind, it
Mhm.
just radically transformed my faith and our marriage, because
Right.
like, okay, well, this makes all the sense in the world. For
Right.
decades, I was not thinking along these lines. And so what that really what really hit home for me was, well, if God is right about this big subject, then he's probably right about all these other big subjects too. And so it
Ah.
really enabled me to um, put my life under God's control and
Oh.
really lean on his wisdom
Yeah.
in what I didn't understand. I just kind of took in faith, like God's got it figured out, and eventually I'll understand that as well. And so it radically impacted our marriage, because um, well, love is supposed to be total, free, and
Mhm.
fruitful and faithful.
Yeah.
And then I started really living that. I mean, I was
Yeah.
deficiently living that to a point, but so
Mhm. Mhm.
when I reached that point where all of um, my sensuality, all my attraction, all my passion landed squarely on my wife, which is where God intended it to be
Right.
all the time. Um,
Yes.
then all of a sudden our marriage life just like really took off, and just
Okay.
my focus, the way I viewed the world, my
Yeah.
relationship with God and Dawn just dramatically improved. And
Right.
um, obviously, that factors, natural family planning factors into that as well.
Mhm.
Natural family planning and CCL were teaching these things, right? I mean,
Yes.
if I
Yes.
were more open to it, then, maybe I would have been uh, better trained earlier on. But then I started to understand the logic of it, and then I could
Uh-huh.
incorporate that and eventually teach that to others as well.
Right.
Went through actually a kind of a miraculous situation with a retreat that he was part of that also healed part of that side of things. And after that, I feel like was when it's just like he totally shifted. It's like it was seriously like a mind shift, like a miracle and a mind shift and spirituality. Like his focus just completely, it's like it sunk in or something, and then he was
Mhm.
able to like put it all into practice.
Let's talk a little bit about responsible parenthood. I mean, that's a term that we use in couple to couple league a lot in terms of practicing natural family planning. How did you learn to discern responsible parenthood throughout your marriage, especially like in different seasons of family life?
So, when we started out, we got married. It was our intention to just postpone pregnancy for a couple years just so we can kind of get to know each other better. I mean, we were moved in together. We had never lived together and just kind of wanted to, I guess, explore one another during those couple years. And then, and through the blessing of natural family planning, we were able to successfully postpone. And then when that period had elapsed, we were ready to have kids. And so that's the beautiful thing about natural family planning. It's immediately reversible. And so we started trying to have children, and within just a couple cycles, Dawn was pregnant. And so we had our first. And then through that communication, we're talking like, okay, so what's the plan going forward? And we were united in our opinion, like, well, let's have a couple kids really close together, so those siblings can be close in age. And so when we started trying again, when Dawn was fertile again, it only took one cycle for her to get pregnant. And again, props to natural family planning for helping us with that blessing. And so baby number 2 came along, and then communication happened again. And Dawn was like, okay, I'm ready for baby number 3 right away. And I'm like, you are insane. We got 2 kids in diapers. And I mean, I grew up with one sibling. And so this just taking and not having grown up around babies at all, just having one baby was like a giant leap for me. And then I had 2, and I'm like, 3, I don't know. So we had a lot of good conversations.
I definitely was trying to talk him into it for a while.
But I wasn't having it at the time. And so so we decided to postpone. I mean, Dawn, very good. Love you for that. And then and then over the years, we kept having the conversation because Dawn was basically like, ever ready. Like, when you're ready, I'm ready. And then it was weird because I remember just like this one day I started thinking about having another child. And I swear it was God like rewiring my brain or putting the thought in. Like, all of a sudden I was like, man, I'd really like to have a third child. That sounds really good. And I come home from work and I tell Dawn, she's like, let's go. Like, I've been ready for a while now. So yeah, we started trying, and then within one cycle, she was pregnant again, and
there you go.
We had baby number 3. And then after we had baby number 3, we had the conversation again. Dawn's like, I'm ready to go for 4. And I'm like, listen, I mean, I'm already stretched here. I can't, right? I'm like, no, not so much with baby number 4. And she's like, okay, well, just stay open to it. It's not about me, right? So, I mean, I think God wanted us to have that 4th child for companionship, for Trinity. And they were tight growing up and really filled the gap that was in our family, and having the 2 boys and 2 girls.
So in general, what has NFP taught you about trust and relying on God and openness to life?
Well, for me, it has taught that, yes, we need to, again, like, have God in all aspects of everything that we do and everything we think. I mean, a lot of people probably don't think about inviting God into that sexual relationship and the thank God for the enjoyment of it, things like that. And as for having children, obviously, I mean, like, one of the things that I always think is a great way of putting it in the NFP training videos, I think it's Father Polmeyer, like, a child is a gift, not a commodity, not a right. Is that what? Yeah. And I feel like, so it puts a different spin on it, that it's a gift. And like, so God is giving us these children, and we are to try and raise them in the best way we can so that we can get them to heaven. So I don't know about you.
Yeah, and then what I learned is that God provides, right? So that's what I hear a lot from young couples is like,
Yeah.
oh, what we can never afford to have all these children, and where are we going to put them? And it's just like,
You can really
um,
identify
yeah,
with those
it's
questions.
God will
Yeah.
work it out. Yeah.
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 Right. Yeah. What a good resource you are for them too, to show them that, yeah, I had the same feelings, and things
Yeah.
work out when we trust. Yeah. Earlier you were talking about that communication that you have had to, have in determining, what your family is going to look like. Um, how do you think that learning that kind of communication um, shaped your marriage, maybe beyond just family planning?
Well, I do think that the communication that's required in the natural family planning method just kind of opens you up to being more communicative in general. So
Mhm.
I don't know. It's like I guess I guess I just feel like we feel more at ease communicating because of that very intimate communication you have to have
Mhm.
as you're
Mhm.
sharing your fertility symptoms.
What inspired you guys to become a teaching couple?
Yeah. So, um, I think just the need, really. So we were practicing the method. We knew other couples from our church who were practicing the method.
Okay.
We just had I guess, the inspiration to do it and the motivation to do it, to
Yeah.
fill that gap that was out there, right? It was a blessing in our marriage, and we just wanted to share that blessing with others, and so
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
went that route.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It was
And what?
just very it was good. It was good to be able to contribute to our parish in that way. Because again, like you
Mhm.
said, actually our diocese, because there aren't that many people that are training throughout the diocese. So, and of
Yep.
course that was kind of pre online. So we were able to do a lot more live in-person classes for that.
Yep.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. And what has kept you committed to doing it over the years?
What inspired me from the beginning continues to. I mean, I get the updates on how many teachers are out there teaching, and the need is clear. And
Yeah.
um, we can get into this as well, but like with the live online teaching,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like we'll offer a class, we'll open it up, and it will fill almost immediately.
Yeah.
And we're
Wow.
teaching 20, sometimes 25 couples at a time. Like the need
Wow.
is there.
Yes.
And and
Yes.
it's another part of it is just the transformation that we see in the short amount of time that we're with these couples.
Mm.
It's you've got all kinds, right? You've got some there and they're just doing it because they have to do it. It's
Right.
a parish requirement, right?
Right. Right.
But it's interesting because you'll hook some of those people as well, and
Yeah.
they'll actually start to become very engaged, and
Yeah.
just seeing that transformation. And our
Mm.
transformation took a long time as well.
Hmm.
Even though we were very open to it at the beginning, just practicing the
Right.
method over the years has really transformed the way we view
Yeah.
our
Yeah. Doing it the right way.
sexuality.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, so what would be one piece of encouragement that you hope your students walk away with after learning natural family planning?
I would say patience.
Mm.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
like I referred to before, I don't think I really appreciated NFP fully until I had been practicing it for about 20 years. This is insane to say, right? Because at first, I mean, there's like a lot of downside to overcome, right? It's
Mm.
like, okay, well, so I need to abstain for weeks at a time. Like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is this is good. How, right? And then, but it's fascinating because after all this time, I can look back and I can say, yes, like the honeymoon effect, right? Like when we
Oh,
abstain for all that time and then we come back together, I mean, there's so much excitement, there's so much passion, and it really is invigorating for our marriage. And I
mm.
think about it, I'm like, well, if we weren't practicing natural family planning, then I think sex would become very routine and
Mm,
it would maybe ho hum, right? And
mhm.
not quite as exciting. And so I think there's a brilliance to God's plan.
Yeah.
Again, like that I just need to accept, right? And
Yeah.
and if we
Oh.
practice that, then
Mhm.
all those blessings flow forth.
Mm,
And now I really get that. And the
mhm.
gym of 20 years ago did not. So
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
me, I would say probably, I guess I would want people to know how effective it is, like so that they realize it's not just some rando method that isn't very effective. It is
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
scientifically proven, and it
Yeah. Good point.
is an option that people should consider. And especially now with all of the people like worried about chemicals and
Mm.
their
Mhm.
health and green kind of things, it is an
Right.
option that should be considered, and it can give indications to other issues in your body, and it just helps you become
Right.
more in tune with your body. And it just amazes me, like the things that I learned about myself that I would never have known about at all had I not gone through this course. And so how many people out there have no idea, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
about some of the things that their body is doing that is normal, but maybe they're like, what's going on? Why is this happening? And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I think that
Mhm.
there's just so much potential.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Jim and Don, for being my guest on the podcast. I appreciate it so much. And thank you for your ministry to other young couples and introducing them to the beautiful gift of natural family planning. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having
our
us.
pleasure.